Hey, real quick, if you're a Seahawks fan, you might want to stick around for this because something pretty interesting is happening with the team right now. It's not one of those huge headline moves everyone is screaming about, but when you really look at what's going on behind the scenes, you start to realize the team might be putting together something a lot smarter than people expected. And honestly, some of these quiet moves could end up being way more important than they look right now. So let's talk about what's really going on. But first, if you're a fan who likes to stay well-informed, click the like button and write in the comments. Go Seahawks! Right now, something very interesting is happening behind the scenes with the Seattle Seahawks, and most of the NFL world hasn't even realized it yet. While other teams are making loud, flashy moves that dominate headlines, Seattle has been operating in a much quieter way. But when you look closely at what the front office is doing, the strategy becomes very clear. They are building depth across the entire roster, piece by piece, and that approach could end up paying massive dividends later down the road. One of the first moves that perfectly represents this philosophy is the return of Brady Russell. The Seahawks are bringing Russell back on a 2-year deal, and while this might not be the type of signing that explodes across national media, it's the kind of move that coaches absolutely love. Russell has become one of those players who quietly does everything the team asks of him. He primarily lines up at fullback, but he's also capable of taking snaps at tight end, and he contributes on special teams as well. That type of versatility is incredibly valuable when you're trying to build a complete roster. But what might be even more important than Russell's positional flexibility is the role he plays inside the locker room. He's known as someone who embraces the gritty, physical side of football. He does the dirty work that often goes unnoticed, the kind of effort that helps a team function as a true unit. In fact, he served as a captain multiple times last season, which tells you exactly how much respect he commands among teammates and coaches. When Seattle talks about the idea of the team operating as 11 as 1, Brady Russell fits that mentality perfectly. Another move that continues this theme is the Seahawks bringing back defensive lineman Brandon Peely on a 1-year deal. Peely might not be a player whose statistics jump off the page, but his impact goes far beyond the box score. Last season, he stepped up in a significant way, especially when injuries forced changes along the defensive line. When Jarran Reed went down, Peely filled in and handled a lot of the physical responsibilities inside the defensive front. He became a reliable rotational piece who did the difficult work that allows the rest of the defensive line to operate effectively. On many teams around the league, Peely might actually see more snaps. But Seattle's defensive line is already stacked with talent, which means his role becomes one of depth and rotation. And that's exactly the point. The Seahawks are building layers of depth that can withstand the inevitable grind of an NFL season. Injuries happen. Players miss time. And the teams that survive those moments are usually the ones that prepared for them months earlier. Seattle seems to be doing exactly that. But the Seahawks didn't stop with internal moves. They also made a couple of outside additions, starting with safety Rodney Thomas. Coming out of Yale, Thomas brings both intelligence and experience to the secondary. He has starting experience in the NFL and has also shown that he's willing to contribute on special teams, which immediately increases his value to the roster. What makes this signing particularly intriguing is the situation at the safety position. Seattle recently lost Kobe Bryant, which naturally creates questions about how the depth chart will look moving forward. While there are players expected to step into larger roles, the addition of Rodney Thomas introduces another element: competition. And competition is something head coach Mike Macdonald clearly values. We've already seen examples of players who weren't initially expected to make a huge impact, but ended up becoming key contributors once given an opportunity. Sometimes all it takes is the right environment, the right coaching staff, and the right moment for a player to break out. Rodney Thomas could potentially become another one of those stories. Then there's another fascinating addition on offense: running back Emmanuel Wilson. This signing might not look dramatic at first glance, but it reveals something important about Seattle's strategy at the running back position. Instead of investing heavily in a single high-profile name, the Seahawks appear ready to create a true competition. Wilson comes in without extensive starting experience, but he brings potential and an opportunity to fight for a role. And based on the current roster direction, it seems very likely that Seattle will add another running back in the draft as well. That means the spring and summer could feature a serious battle in the backfield. The philosophy here is simple. Running back is one of the few positions in the NFL where teams can often find tremendous value without spending huge amounts of money. By bringing in multiple players and letting them compete, the Seahawks can evaluate who truly earns those spots on the active roster. Whether that ends up being the RB1, RB2, or RB3, the competition itself should push everyone to perform at their highest level. But while all these moves are important for roster depth, there's another storyline that might have an even bigger impact on Seattle's future. And it revolves around a veteran defender whose name carries serious weight in the league: DeMarcus Lawrence. Recently, rumors began circulating about the possibility of Lawrence retiring. Whenever a veteran player reaches this stage of his career, those questions naturally start appearing. But according to someone who knows him well, fans might not need to worry about that scenario. Jonathan Hankins, a friend of Lawrence, recently shared insights suggesting that Lawrence is expected to return. And if that ends up becoming reality, it would be huge news for the Seahawks. Last season, Lawrence looked rejuvenated on the field. After some critics believed his best years were behind him, he delivered one of his most impressive stretches of play in quite some time. He played with energy, physicality, and leadership, looking like a player who had rediscovered something special. Lawrence even made it clear about his intentions when he arrived in Seattle, saying he came to compete for a championship and pursue a Super Bowl. Now, if he does return for the 2026 season, it could mean the Seahawks keep one of the most experienced and impactful voices on their defense. And when you combine that veteran leadership with the depth the team is quietly building across the roster, it starts to paint a very interesting picture for the future. Because while these moves may seem small individually, together they reveal a much bigger plan unfolding inside the Seahawks organization. And that raises the big question for every member of the 12s watching right now: if this quiet strategy continues to build depth and bring veterans like DeMarcus Lawrence back into the fold, do you believe the Seahawks are positioning themselves for something much bigger in the 2026 season? And when you step back and look at everything the Seahawks are doing right now, the strategy becomes even clearer. This team didn't go out chasing headlines or making the loudest moves of the offseason. Instead, they focused on something that often separates good teams from great ones in the NFL: depth, competition, and culture. Bringing back players like Brady Russell and Brandon Peely reinforces the identity inside the locker room. Adding players like Rodney Thomas II and Emmanuel Wilson introduces fresh competition at key positions. And the possibility of DeMarcus Lawrence returning could keep a powerful veteran presence leading the defense. All of these pieces together suggest that Seattle isn't just thinking about the next week or the next headline. They're thinking about the long season ahead, the injuries that inevitably happen, and the moments when depth players suddenly become game changers. The Seahawks are quietly building a roster designed to survive the grind of an NFL season and still be strong when it matters most. If this approach works the way the front office hopes, we could look back at these quiet signings months from now and realize they were actually some of the most important moves of the offseason. Sometimes the teams that win in January and February are the ones that did the smartest work in March. But now I want to hear from you, the 12s. Do you like the way the Seahawks are building this roster with depth and competition? Or were you hoping the team would make bigger splash moves in free agency? Drop your thoughts down in the comments, because I read them all, and I want to know what the Seahawks fans are thinking right now. And if you enjoy staying up to date with everything happening in Seattle, make sure you subscribe to the channel right now so you never miss any breaking Seahawks news. Also, leave a like on this video because it helps the channel grow and allows more Seahawks fans to find this content. And before you leave, click the video that's appearing on your screen right now, because that's where you'll find the next big Seahawks story you need to know about. If you want the latest Seahawks news first, this is the place to be. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.